So, folks, there is just an insane liberal response going on right now regarding people leaving Twitter for Blue Sky. And the think pieces have been flying fast and thick, really. A lot of writers, waxing poetic about the virtues of being stuck on a platform where every other post is either an advertisement for a drop shipping company or, a neo-Nazi talking about how the Jews are to blame for everything. And really, that's not good for anyone to be exposed to, and people hate it. The vast majority of people hate it. And frankly, the second that there became a viable alternative where people were going in greater numbers, a lot of people jumped ship. I jumped ship. I don't want to go back to Twitter. Sometimes I still pop in there to make sure no one has tried to DM me something important. But other than that, there's really no upside to using Twitter now. A lot of the major shakers and posters have moved over to Blue Sky, and frankly, it's a lot nicer over there. It's really great. And the other part about it is they actually enforce terms of service that precludes, bigoted, hateful posting. Libs of TikTok, for example, got banned off of the platform after a day and a half. It's really nice. It's a lot of people just forgot what a moderated website feels like what a moderated social media website could be. And it's really nice. But what we're seeing now is just a lot of these think pieces being published. And bear in mind, Politico was bought by a conservative I think a year or two ago. But Democrats face an existential crisis on X. Conversations with a dozen insiders point to a party that's unsure about whether to leave or engage with the increasingly MAGA platform. And it's why would you stay? Why would you stay? That's not where your constituents are anymore. Like, oh, you need to stay to what? See what Cat Turd is talking about? Oh, you need to stay to see what Elon Musk is tweeting about, whether or not you've blocked him or muted him. Like, you don't need to be there unless you are a conservative, in which case your influence is absolutely tanking. And a lot of conservatives are deeply upset about the fact that a lot of left-leaning folks are just not there anymore. Because frankly, they rely on left-leaning folks for their content. And I feel like, again, a really good example of this is Libs of TikTok. It's literally the point of the handle. Libs of TikTok. It's fishing for content from a different platform to present to folks who are conservative. And so without people to dunk on, they're getting really upset, and they're these conservatives are trying to migrate to Blue Sky, only to find that they can't be bigoted on Blue Sky anymore. And it's really upsetting because there's finally a site that is just saying, no, I'm sorry, you're too disgusting to have here, and they don't like it, which is then leading to stuff like this. 2 days after the election, Patrick Dillon, a longtime Democratic strategist and current Biden administration official, announced on X that he was leaving the platform. If you really want to want the why I'm leaving Twitter, I guess that's the whole Elon of it. There's the whole Elon of it, Dillon posted, but added a few more reasons. The pointlessness of X, the fact that it hasn't been much fun lately, and that with things getting worse with Trump in office, by Dillon's lights, I'm just not sure it's going to be the most constructive or even healthy vehicle to deal with that. Which, yeah, Twitter sucks. It's been falling apart. It's barely been working on a functional level. And I'm sorry, there's just a better product available. And you might be like, well, what about Threads? People fucking hate Threads. The only reason people have Threads is because Instagram constantly prompts them to make a Threads account. That's it. That's the only reason there are so many accounts on Threads, and yet it feels like an empty wasteland. It's just because a lot of people made an account and then they never went back in again. And, like, Blue Sky, on the other hand, functions. It's decentralized to a degree, and like people actually post there. And it functions as a social media site, so like people can post and see posts that they like instead of just like doom scrolling things that make them angry nonstop. Okay, like I cannot stress enough that Blue Sky is actually a functional website that people enjoy using. I enjoy using it. And yeah, this just gets so much sillier. Dylan, who currently serves as advisor to Secretary of Commerce Gina Raimondo, is of course not alone. You may well have seen it in your timelines already, a growing drumbeat of Democrats and left-leaning types announcing why they're leaving the platform. In just the few weeks since the election, that has included former CNN anchor Don Lemon, basketball star LeBron James, author Stephen King, actress Jamie Lee Curtis, and MSNBC's Nicole Wallace. But the situation is a bit more complicated for Democratic lawmakers, strategists, and the like, who might have come to dislike X, but have also grown to depend on it to shape minds and to win elections, which I've got news for you, Politico author. They aren't winning elections with X. So that kind of undermines your point. They just lost. So clearly they're not using it to win elections. Also, if their base isn't on Twitter, who are they talking to? Because I've got news for you guys. Most Americans aren't on Twitter. Okay? Their base is predominantly off of Twitter. If you're relying on Twitter in order to get your votes, that's a bad strategy. It's an overwhelmingly conservative platform, and most of your constituents aren't there. But it continues to get silly. It might seem a trivial matter, but the trend has prompted a larger debate that encapsulates the many other conversations the liberal ecosystem, elected officials, Hill staffers, administration aides, activists, lobbyists, opinion shapers, and beyond, is having in the wake of Trump's election win. Should left-leaning people and Democratic voters wall MAGA off as much as possible and hope that eventually it suffocates? Or try even harder to meet those voters where they are, or at least understand them? And it's like, what are you talking about? Most Americans aren't on Twitter. Yeah, only 23% of adults in the United States use Twitter, guys. It's not even like 75% of all adults. It's like less than a quarter of American adults use Twitter. Like, we're already talking about a fraction of the electorate. You know, like, but not only that, what this article is now complaining about is, oh, well, why, you know, should they wall MAGA off? Well, it's like, I don't know. Should you wall off the Nazis that want to be part of your group? And the answer is yes. Yeah, if they cannot behave themselves, if they cannot, you know, comport themselves in a way that is acceptable to mainstream society, yeah. There's no magical force field that prevents MAGA folk from existing on Blue Sky. They just have to not be bigots. They just have to restrain themselves from posting about how Jews run the world and are evil. And they have to restrain themselves from posting about how trans people are disgusting and abominations against God, you know? But they can't do it. You know, they are very far gone because some of the biggest MAGA posters on Twitter are Nazis. Okay? Like, it really is fascinating. Okay, I'm seeing someone ask about like social media use, and like that's so not the point of what I'm talking about. But in order to address your question, here is a survey from about 3 years ago. So it's sorry, January of 2024. Here you go. Most adults use YouTube and Facebook. About half use Instagram, and then it's all downhill from there. A third use TikTok. 27% use Snapchat. That's crazy. And then 22% use Twitter. And then 3% use Be Real, something I've literally never heard of. So, yeah. Twitter, like catering to Twitter is insane. Catering your entire political platform to Twitter is mental. Catering your entire political platform to TikTok, mental. You start becoming a little bit more in the realm of reality when you're talking about YouTube, but like I guarantee most of the people who are using YouTube are not looking up politics content. Well, again, the reason folks feel like more people use these social media apps than actually do is because they personally use them all the time. So it feels like everyone else uses them because they have enough users to make it feel that way. But it's just not true, you know? So let's keep going here, all right? Ultimately here, this author is trying to say that you know, it's the leftists walling off MAGA when it's MAGA being incapable of behaving in a way that civil society, like, countenances. Or try even harder to meet those voters where they are, or at least understand them. Yeah, Democratic congressman, why aren't you going to the Klan rally? You know, why aren't you going to the Klan rally? Surely you'll learn about the median voters' interests at the Ku Klux Klan rally. Like, sorry, that's not the mainstream base. Posters on Twitter are not the mainstream base. Especially because a lot of the posters are bots on Twitter. God. Anyway, the reasons the Leavers are giving are plentiful. There's no pretend at this point, said Dylan when I called to ask him about his decision to quit X. This is a vehicle to support Musk's political views and his candidates, which is true. He also pointed to what he saw as a declining quality of the platform, trash ads and scammy replies and porn bots, and the fact that, as he saw it, one of its core functions, reaching out to journalists, has become suspect given questions over whether Musk might be willing to violate the privacy of the site's direct messaging tools. Which, yeah, probably good to move to Signal now, just in general, as an FYI. But key, said Dylan, is Musk's hijacking of the site to his own political ends. In conversations with a wide variety of other left-leaning insiders, his concerns were fairly typical. Among those who were leaving or contemplating it, the most prominent reasons included Musk's push to not just roll back the platform's once robust filtering of what it judged misinformation and bullying, but to what some researchers have said is tilting the site to boost Donald Trump's chances. Also, let's be clear here. Twitter is not a site of bullying, per se, because, you know, shouting the N-word at someone is not bullying. That's hate speech. You know, using racial slurs, ethnic slurs, you know, gendered slurs, these are not, you know, not gendered slurs, but like, you know, the T slur, for example, transphobic slurs. That's the word I was looking for. Thank you. These are not bullying. These are harassment. These are hate speech. I feel like calling it bullying makes it seem like it's, a light ribbing and you just need to have a stiff upper lip and deal with it. But like, we're talking about something fundamentally different. When someone's saying, hey, you don't have a fundamental right to exist, that's a little bit different from bullying. Yeah, Super Jet Guy, I'm not going to do that. We're talking about other things right now. Let's see. Others, though, argue that the statistically significant dip in Democratic users over time is a worrying trend, and that the so-called self-deplatforming of progressives is ultimately self-defeating. If we leave X, it will help Elon with his goal of making the platform void of any progressive ideology or the way we think about the world, Maxwell Frost, a 27-year-old member of Congress, told me, and leave it to the Charlie Kirks and Tim Pools of the world to fill it up with what they believe. Except, here's the problem. I like Maxwell Frost. I think he's a good member of the House. But like, social media is only as powerful as like where we choose to spend our time. I'm old enough to remember when people migrated from MySpace over to Facebook, okay? That wasn't like ceding the platform to conservatives. It's not like MySpace became a conservative platform. People just moved to a platform they saw as superior. And they saw it as superior because more people went and used it. Right? Social media is only as strong as its posters. And the strongest posters are moving to Blue Sky, baby. And that's just a fact. Okay? Yeah, the great dig exodus of 2007. No matter the reasons, they are finding that quitting X isn't easy. Dylan himself can vouch for that. Posted a handful of times since his breakup. Look, the posting habit dies hard, wrote Dylan, one day at a time. It's really not that hard. Frankly, you get way better engagement on Blue Sky than you do on Twitter, all right? Twitter is weak, all right? If you are a leftist on Twitter, it's fucking weak. Your replies get downgraded in like the discovery algorithm. It sucks ass if you're a leftist on Twitter. All right? You are so much better off posting on Blue Sky. It's ridiculous. Yeah, if you have trouble with posting on Twitter, just delete the fucking app. Make sure you download your data off of Twitter. And also, I don't necessarily know that I would delete your account, but delete your tweets and lock your account. That way people can't impersonate you. All right? Blue Sky is also growing at an astonishing rate, about 2.5 million a week. Damn. All right. For many, it's simply what they see as the toxicity of the platform. Since Musk took over in 2022, critics say they're seeing far more hate and vitriol. There are those on the left focused on the sort of intellectual debates that can turn elections one way or the other, who say it's become impossible, at least really, really unpleasant to try to do that work on X. And in some cases, that can... Okay. Can I just say this is one of the stupidest things I've ever read in Politico, and that's saying a lot. But I'm sorry, who on the left was claiming that their intellectual debates on Twitter were the hinge on which elections swung? Because that's insane. That is an insane degree of hubris. I don't know if anyone has actually tried to have an intellectual debate on Twitter, but it does not actually move the needle anywhere. That this is truly delusional. Yeah, exactly, Tipster. And in some cases, that conclusion is leading them to give up on the sort of immense audiences that others in their fields envied. In his 15 years on the platform, Bill McKibben, an environmentalist and co-founder of the advocacy group 350.org, built up a following of more than 380,000 accounts, using it to push his climate action message and of late, boost Kamala Harris's presidential bid. The day after the election, McKibben announced he was effectively giving them up. I mistrust the owner and his role in public life, and things have grown sad and harsh. He continued that he recently recommended listening to John Coltrane, and the first response was, "Eat shit, loser." And, like, I think this is a really good encapsulation of why posting on Twitter sucks. Like that interaction of like, hey, you should listen to John Coltrane because he's phenomenal, and someone responding, "Eat shit, loser." Why spend your time in that kind of environment? If you were having a conversation in a cafe with someone and you were talking about how great John Coltrane is, and some rando walked up to you and said, "Eat shit, loser," and like just stood there grinning, and then like 50 other people came up and said the same thing, would you want to go back to that cafe? No. No, you wouldn't. Like, there's a very clear reason here why people are leaving Twitter.
I got you, friendo.
Transgirl Jade, thank you for gifting Tipster a sub. I really appreciate it. Thank you for supporting stream. I really, really appreciate it. Thank you for that BWA energy. Days later, left-of-center journalist and Atlantic contributing writer James Fallows followed. Fallows has a following of more than 179,000 accounts, and used his account to chronicle what he saw as the abuses of Trump's first term. Fallows said he was leaving what Musk hath wrought. The oligarchs won, wrote New Republic staff writer Timothy Noah. If you're still at Elon Musk's site, you're part of the problem, he added. He cited Musk's own degradation of public discourse with racism, anti-Semitism, misogyny, union busting, and endorsements of violence, the spreading of hateful untruths, and all-around vulgarity. The left-leaning news organization The Guardian made a similar move, calling X toxic, which, yeah. There are those who make the case for leaving less a rejection of the negativity on the platform and more as a real action that Musk and MAGA opponents can take to starve the network and its owner of a bit of their power. Which, I guess, but frankly, a way better reason to leave is because it sucks ass. Like that's why you should leave. Does Elon care if Twitter fails? I mean, possibly, but probably not. Frankly. Also, Chaotic Fox Girl Z, I would put on glasses, but I lack them in my current streaming position. I'm so sorry. All right. Da, da, da. Yeah, X is just one way Musk flexes that power, manipulating the algorithm, some researchers have concluded, to promote his own posts and views that he agrees with, all of which often benefit Trump. Leaving the platform diminishes that power, these levers say, which is true. But, like, diminishes the platform in, like, a pretty insubstantial way. It does have, like, hundreds of millions of users, but if enough people become inactive, I think even though it has like something like 300 million users, the majority of accounts on Twitter are just absolutely dormant or bots.
One time my cousin Walter got this cat stuck up his *****. True story. He bought it at our local mall.
Jesus Christ. Thank you for the 10 gifted tier 1 subs. And I believe that means it's time for us to drop everything we're doing and enjoy some of the smooth renditions of the season. Salmon Moose, thank you for your service. I appreciate you. I ain't connecting the dots here. The dots to be connected are that I promised, since it is now the beginning of December that anytime someone gifts 10 gifted subs, we will stop and play Mariah Carey Trombone Champ. What platform was that game on? I think it was on PC. If this version was what was playing at every store in the country right now, I'd be more okay with it. Fair. Back. So, moving to Blue Sky read the subject of a note sent around to his contact list last week by Mark Green, the one-time public advocate of New York City, referring to a rival social network. His sign-off: lots to say as we approach the start of Trump-Musk oligarchy. Yeah. Just a lot of people. Oh, we're leaving the platform. Yeah, okay, no shit, Sherlock. The platform's dying. People don't want to use it anymore. It sucks ass. A Democratic Hill staffer, not authorized to speak on the record, scoffs at that line of argument. It's already been legitimized, said the staffer about X, pointing to how baked into the Washington landscape the platform has been. There's really nothing to be gained by leaving, argued the source, saying that as a practical matter, it does little to challenge Musk's dominance or create any sort of hit on his wallet, given that X still seems to be unable to actually make money. So by continuing to use the site, said the source, we're making Twitter only slightly less unprofitable. I mean, the issue is not taking money away from Elon Musk. The issue is it sucks ass to use. Like this is the thing, right? Like, for me, the two things I like about Blue Sky is, one, it doesn't scrape your data for AI training garbage, and two, it doesn't suck ass to use. It's not hard to really figure out, oh man, why are these people using a way better platform? Why are all these people using something that's objectively better? And oh man, I just can't figure it out. I wonder if you guys can. X, for its part, sees the site's shifting demographics as cause for celebrating, if only because it seems to put them in alignment with the rest of the countries, highlighting Pew Research Center data showing that those who use X for news are now close to a 50-50 partisan split. CEO Linda Yaccarino boasted, more than any other platform, we represent the entire country, which that doesn't represent the views of the entire country? Because the entire country isn't split up into Democrats and Republicans? Most people in this country don't vote at all. They're politically unaligned and unactivated, so like bragging that you have a 50-50 split is kind of insane. Yeah, I will say props to Linda for keeping her job this long. I really thought she was going to be out in like a week. Yeah, honestly, I'm not sure where people are getting their news on Twitter anymore from, because all the news posters went to Blue Sky, but okay. Yeah, that X is trending closer to political parity is one reason for that some Democrats, including those whose job descriptions include winning elections, which, again, who are these people? Name names, because they're really bad at it and they should be held accountable for their failures, are saying that the left needs to stay and fight on the site, even if it can feel to them increasingly hostile. Why? What is won in the posting wars on Twitter? What do you win? What do you win by just doom scrolling, feeling an impending sense of dread, and getting angrier and angrier? What do you get out of that? How does that improve your life? Because believe it or not, social media is supposed to be a tool that adds something to your life. You know, like is enjoyable to use. that connects you with people you want to be connected to. And that's not really what Twitter does anymore. All right. That argument seems especially powerful after an election that has prompted many party insiders to wonder why they are increasingly out of touch with a broad swath of Americans, particularly those outside the bubbles of East Coast, highly educated elites, or the type of people who once made up Twitter's power user base and who, it seems, have been among the first to leave. One former Biden administration official, speaking without attribution given their current job in the tech industry, said that those who'd given up the ability to reach a big part of the American electorate, they're replicating the same mistake we made. Too much of the Biden administration was talking to itself and not to the broader country. And it's like, I'm sorry, the broader country wants higher wages. The broader country wants better working conditions. The broader country wants fucking healthcare. The broader country wants cheaper, like, prescription drugs. The broader country wants to, like, make sure people are housed. The broader country wants people to not starve to death. Like, these are issues that the broader country agrees on and wants. These are not issues that the Democratic Party speaks to in any meaningful or direct fashion that your average voter understands or, interprets in that manner. So, like, the idea that, oh man, you're going to be out of touch with the working man if you go to Blue Sky. No, you're not. No, you're fucking not. People want groceries that are affordable. They want the same things across the board. And, like, the idea that, oh, well, you're just out of touch if you go to a different social media platform where people aren't using, like, obscure slurs for Jews and also the slurs for trans people and also slurs for basically every other group. Like, yeah, I'm sorry. I don't think that any value is gained for me by interacting with a Republican base that just wants to call me slurs and tell me that I should die. Like, that doesn't... I'm sorry. I don't think that's a valuable use of my time, or really anyone's use of their time, frankly. Yeah. Isn't it classist to assume the working man is inherently reactionary? Yes, it is, in fact. But again, these people are classist fucks, so it does check out, these people live in their intellectual bubble, and then they're like, oh man, we all live in an intellectual bubble. Haha, we need to get in touch with the real working man. And then they look at, like, a bigot in cowboy boots and say, ah, yes, this must be the working man. See the cowboy boots? It really is that simple. It sounds like I'm being flippant. It really is that simple. They just glom onto that. They're like, this is the average working man. We must cater to him. We know exactly one guy. His name is Jeff, and he's, he's not a member of the Ku Klux Klan himself, but he does have several relatives that he's very close to who are. And clearly he speaks for all working people. And it's like, no, he fucking doesn't. What are you doing? Why are you spreading that fucking bigoted lie that is not only, like, normalizing the bigotry of, like, the Ku Klux Klan, but also normalizing the classist bigotry against the working man? It's crazy. One former Biden administration official, speaking without... Oh, wait, I already read that. Da-da-da. Quitting X might feel good for a time, said the source, comparing it to quitting the gym, but ultimately it'll lead to painful outcomes. You can't disengage, said the source, if you're losing the popular vote. Which, like... Yeah, you can. Guys... You need to put out on all the social media. If you're arguing like, oh well, you can't disengage, man. You can't disengage. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I guess more politicians need to use Pinterest. More politicians need to go big on Facebook. Like, if you're looking at a purely numbers basis for like where should politicians spend their most time, it's YouTube, it's Facebook, it's Instagram, and TikTok. Okay? Like, we're talking about a fraction of the electorate, a fraction of a fraction. It's crazy that you're arguing you have to stay on Twitter. You have to let them call you the N-word. It's like, what the fuck are you talking about? No, you don't. You have to put up with it for the cause. No, you don't. You have like 100 followers on Twitter. You don't have to do that. Good golly. Let's see. Adam Kovacevic is the CEO of a left-of-center lobbying group that exists to win Democrats' support for the tech industry. A left-of-center lobbying group. You're not... I'm sorry. You're not left-of-center if you're lobbying Democrats for political favors for your industry. You're a capitalist tool designed to get tax breaks. That's what you are. I wish reporting on this was more accurate. I hate it. Lobbying should be illegal. But okay, what is this guy who, is in charge of a company that is designed to bribe politicians for political favors? What does he have to say? I hate everything Elon has done to the platform. But we also just had a big debate over whether Kamala Harris should have gone on Joe Rogan. We have to recognize that if we're only talking to ourselves as Democrats, we're consigning ourselves to minority party status. Which, man, I wonder why this guy who's in charge of lobbying for political favors wants the Democratic Party to go more conservative. Move in the direction of the political party that's currently selling off government positions to the highest donor. It's a real mystery here. If only there was like some kind of, I don't know, political reporting apparatus that would actually call out what is being talked about here in straightforward terms. Kurt Bardella, a former Republican Hill staffer turned Democratic consultant, and it's just like, what is fascinating to me about this article is not just like, it's not just the, blue sky is so much better than X. But what's fascinating to me here is between the lines, who Politico is choosing to focus on, right? And it's really telling how many of these people are former Republicans who are now nominally Democrats who want who want Democrats to go more conservative. And it's just like, oh, really? Is that so? He's willing to echo the view that X has become part of conservative infrastructure, a la Fox News, but he argued that the left has to be willing to take its fight to Republicans' backyard, not simply for the courage points, but because, he argued, it's critical to inject skepticism and alternative ideas in spaces where conventional wisdom skews right. I don't always agree with that guy, but he's making some sense. That's a win, says Bardella. Is it? Is it, though? When we're talking about social media? Because, like, maybe that makes sense if you're a Bernie Sanders figure and you go on Fox News and you get them clapping along with you while you talk about Medicare for All. Maybe that's a big win. That's going into the lion's den and doing well. But to argue that en masse people need to go into the lion's den, that seems silly. That we need to organize a march of everyday citizens into the lion's den. You're just feeding the lions. You're just giving the lions what they want, the fresh red meat that they're gonna rip apart. Guys, why aren't you going up and petting those lions that want to eat you? God. Let's see here. That's the argument of one Democratic communications professional speaking without attribution because of the sensitivities of their current position. Leaving X because you don't like Elon is the kind of purity politics that landed Democrats in this mess to begin with. But at the same time, said the source, the echo chamber produced a party more conscious of pronoun dogma than the travails of the working class they purport to represent. And let me tell you something. If you think that knowing how to use pronouns is somehow less working class than using the word travails, I like you have something seriously wrong in your head. You should be fired. You should be fired. Like, I'm sorry. Working class people know how to use pronouns. Working class people are trans. Working class people know trans people. And you know what? Working class people generally stick by trans people. Like, I'm sorry. You're like, oh yes, people who respect pronouns are the real snobbery of the leftist movement. It really boggles the mind. And then they drop a 4-letter word like travails. I'm sorry. This is a conversation about reaching working class people, not using all of your letters in fucking Scrabble. This argument is complicated by the fact that the composition of X users is becoming less liberal. But whether the dwindling number of liberals can put the platform to better use as the user base changes remains to be seen. The source reached for a Lord of the Rings reference to capture the sense of those who remain obsessed with X's potential, perhaps to their own detriment. I love Twitter and also hate it, said the source. Kind of like how Gollum feels about the ring. And you know, if you're gonna go with that as the way to end this article, just want to remind you with that Lord of the Rings reference, Gollum fucking dies at the end of Lord of the Rings. He fucking dies. Spoiler alert. He dies. He loves the ring so much that he falls into the fucking volcano and burns to death. And it's really funny that that's the analogy one goes with. Like, I'm sorry. That doesn't seem like a good argument to me. Yeah, you should obsess over Twitter like I do and let it lead you to your death. God. I honestly, you can't really come up with a better ending to that article. It's really done. We're really done. And what's incredible to me about this article, and we did skip a few paragraphs here and there as we went through it, but ultimately, guys, the reason people are leaving X for Blue Sky is because Blue Sky is just a better social media site. It has better moderation. People can't just post rape or death threats. They can't post, slurs or openly hostile, bigoted comments. And it has moderation that actually works. You can block people and it actually works. You can mute people and it actually works. You actually have feeds that either show you things that are chronologically posted by people you follow, or you can discover new things. You can see what most of the people you follow are liking. It's great. And that's why people are using it. It's not because of you don't have to take a principled stand on this. Just go with the platform that's better. And if you want to use Twitter, that's up to you. You're not taking some grand gesture by leaving Twitter. the only reason you should leave Twitter is because it's an inferior product and platform that is getting worse by the day. That's it. And I think we will all be better off organizing in a space that isn't inundated by chuds who are telling you to, like, take your own life, or using slurs, or harassing you nonstop. I don't think that is conducive to organizing efforts. So generally, I think it's going to benefit the left to be, in a better, more productive, and healthier social media space.